Who? What? When? Where? Why? How? How often? How much? Since when? Really? Ah! Although audience members can ask questions at any time, many will save them until the conclusion of your speech. Specific questions cannot be predicted, but you can prepare for the types of questions. In this lesson, you will learn some strategies for handling questions. We'll go over 5 general tips and 4 difficult scenarios that may come up. Tip number 1. Plan ahead. While you are writing your speech, think about how you want to tackle the audience's questions. During the introduction, you can state your preference for when you would like to address questions. Will you welcome questions throughout your speech, or will you set aside a specific time for them? You can say, "Feel free to ask me questions at any time," or "There will be time at the end of the presentation for questions." While preparing the body, anticipate questions. Answer them before they are asked. Address the 6 WH words. What happens? Who is involved? When does this happen? Where does it happen? Why does it happen? How does it happen? If there is a complicated idea, give examples to help the audience understand. It's also important, especially in persuasive presentations, to mention counter-arguments because not everyone may agree with your ideas. Acknowledge that there are other points of view and refute them in a respectful way. At the end of your speech, invite questions from the audience. You can say, "Now I'll open the floor for questions and comments," or "Are there any questions that you have for me?" Tip number 2. Rephrase the question. Repeating the question in different words will ensure that A. You understand the question, and B. Everyone else hears it. Suppose the question is, under what circumstances does this paradigm not apply? You can rephrase this question with, "If I heard you correctly, you're wondering whether there are any exceptions to this rule. It seems to me that you're asking about the comprehensiveness of this paradigm, right? You'd like to know what factors are unaccounted for. Is that correct?" Tip number 3. Think before you answer. Give yourself time to formulate a response. Even if it is an easy question, don't start rambling. Give your answer carefully. If you start talking without thinking, you may make careless errors. It's okay to pause a few seconds. For an especially difficult question, you can use the following phrases before pausing. Let's see. Let me think. Well? Tip number 4. Respond to everyone. Look mostly at the inquirer, the person who is asking the question, but at the same time, glance occasionally at other people in the audience and speak loudly to let them know that your answer is valuable for them too. For a difficult question, seek confirmation that it was answered satisfactorily. You can say, "Does that answer your question?" Or, "Is that the kind of information you were looking for?" If yes, you can move on to the next person's question. Tip number 5. Thank the audience again. If there are no questions, you're done. You can walk away and sit back in your seat. If there are questions, that's good too. It should be fun to interact with the audience, to hear their ideas. But don't get carried away. You still need to end on time. If there are still hands in the air, you can offer your personal time after the meeting. For example, "I'm sorry, there is only time for 2 more questions. We must end here, but I'd be happy to chat more about this with you during our break. Thank you again for being such a lovely audience." To review, there are 5 steps. First, plan ahead so that you can prevent unnecessary questions from being asked at all. Rephrase the question to make sure that everyone hears and understands it. Before you answer, think. Your answer will be more accurate and more organized, and you want to respond to everyone. This encourages everyone, not only the inquirer, to listen. Finally, thank them again at the end of the question and answer session. Now let's take a look at some common difficult problems that may occur during a Q&A session. Problem number 1. You don't know the answer to the question. No matter how thoroughly you have done your research, you'll never know everything. Remain calm, be confident, and maintain eye contact. Avoid muttering, "I don't know," and turning away. You'll look embarrassed, weak. Tell the truth. Don't lie, but don't run away either. Show that you care about your subject and your audience by promising to do more research or making an educated guess. Here are some ideas. That's a good question. Let me check on that and get back to you with an answer. Or, I've been wondering the same thing. Maybe this happens only if all conditions are met. Problem number 2. You made a mistake earlier in the presentation. Apologize once, not 1,000 times. Say you're sorry one time and credit the person for helping you provide accurate information. Useful phrases include, "You're right. Thank you for pointing this out," or "My apologies. I'm glad you noticed that." Problem number 3. You disagree with the person's idea. Even if the person's idea is completely wrong, you must be respectful. Offer a concession before refuting politely. Concession plus refutation. That's an interesting idea, but in my opinion, it doesn't apply in this situation. I see your point. However, I think there are other factors to consider here. Problem number 4. The question is redundant or off topic. Maybe it's a question that has already been answered earlier, the question is not directly related to your presentation, or there's a questioner who strongly disagrees with your ideas and won't stop talking. Never look annoyed. Keep smiling and give a brief answer, 1 or 2 sentences. If necessary, suggest another outlet for their concerns. For example, "I'd be happy to continue discussing this with you after the meeting." Or, "For more information, the handout I've provided contains several articles that you should find interesting." Many people fear the unpredictability of the question and answer session at the end of a presentation. In this lesson, you've learned that it is possible to predict and manage many types of questions.